A woman who has been left traumatized after wresting a bloody knife from the hands of her mother's killer has spoken of her outrage after the attacker was jailed for just 5.5 years. Marie Lowe, 36, from Dundee, was brutally killed in the street in a row with her neighbor just moments after having breakfast with her daughters Demi Hodge and Jamie Lee Hodge in September 2016. Demi, now 20, ran outside after hearing her mother's desperate screams to find her mother. Her then-pregnant sister Jamie Lee and neighbor Shalban Russell, 31. Covered in blood, she managed to prise the knife from Russell's hand as her mother collapsed to the ground. However, despite frantic attempts to save her, Marie died in hospital. The grieving daughter recalled, "I wanted to get it away from her, to stop her from hurting my mum anymore." The family had hoped for closure when Shalban Russell went on trial at Aberdeen High Court in December 2017. Pleading not guilty to murder, but Russell was only found guilty of culpable homicide, the Scottish equivalent of manslaughter. The family's heartbreak was compounded when, earlier this month at Edinburgh High Court, Russell was sentenced to just 5.5 years in prison. While the judge, Lord Burns, rejected Russell's claim that she had acted in self-defense, he accepted that her actions were out of character, adding, "Nevertheless, the taking of a life by the use of a weapon such as a knife is a very serious matter, but full-time." Mother Marie's family remained disgusted by what they believed to be an unreasonably lenient sentence. Demi, a student, said, "5.5 years is nothing for taking my mum's life. She will probably get out in a few years. We've set up a petition about sentences for culpable homicide, because we are determined to do what we can to get justice for Mum. Nothing will bring her back, but this feels like an insult." Russell, who lived with her partner John Hodge, 48, lived on the same road as Marie, and the pair had been friends until an argument over a £10 debt spiraled out of control. In the days before their fatal confrontation, the pair had a fist fight in the street. But Marie had hoped to settle their differences on the day she was killed. Demi recalled, "I was having breakfast with Mum and Jamie Lee. Initially, we were just chatting about buying a pram because Jamie Lee was 6 months pregnant. Mum loved babies and she couldn't wait to be a grandmother. Then she mentioned she was going to go around and try to sort things out with Shalban. When Marie, accompanied by Jamie Lee, approached Shalban's door, she came into the street with a knife. When a fight broke out, she plunged the weapon into her chest. After hearing the commotion, Demi ran outside and wrestled the weapon from Russell before a bystander threw it into a garden. When the police arrived, the two sisters were taken to the station to give statements, but their interviews were interrupted when news came through that their mother was in a critical condition. After rushing to Ninewells Hospital, the girls were met by the rest of their family, who broke the news that their mother had died. Demi said, "It was the sort of thing that only happens on TV." At her funeral at Dundee Crematorium on September 22, 2016, Demi carried her mother's coffin. "I felt like I had to take over her role a bit. I can never replace Mum, but I feel like I have to look after Jamie Lee and my sister Shanice, 15, she said, over a year after their mother's death. Demi and her sisters finally faced her killer in court. Demi said she'd been let out on bail, so we'd already seen in the street. "It was a slap in the face for us, and we went into the court case hoping for some proper justice for Mum." After the jury rejected Russell's plea of self-defense and found her guilty of culpable homicide, they still hoped her sentence would reflect the seriousness of her crime. But Demi said, "We knew then that it would be much lower than a murder sentence, but when we found out she would only be jailed for 5.5 years, we were completely devastated." My mum never got to meet her granddaughter Casey Marie, who Jamie named after her, although we'll make sure the baby knows all about her grandma. Even though all we have to look at is her ashes in my grandparents' home, she could be out before Casey Marie even starts school. And while she can appeal her sentence if she thinks it's too high, we can't if we think it's too low. It's just not fair. The family have launched a petition against the sentence. Click here for more information.